Right. We're ready. We are missing one committee member who we are tracking down. Okay, do we have the ability to go live? Are we live?
Yes, Madam Chair, we're live.
Okay. So, I think we're ready again. So at 12:05, I will call the budget hearings for April 17th to order. And if we could get a roll call, please.
Certainly, Madam Chair. Councillor Cassett.
Here.
Councillor Faulkner.
Here.
Councillor Wendell.
Here.
Councillor Lee Garcia.
He's en route. He'll be here shortly.
Chair Romero Worth.
I am here.
Madam Chair, you have a quorum.
All right, and we have one budget that we are hearing today for Public Utilities Department. Do we have any other changes to this agenda? Director Oster, are we okay with this agenda?
Madam Chair, excuse me. Yes, no changes from staff.
Okay, motion
Perfect.
to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? That motion passes. So we do have just one budget today. Public Utilities Department, of course, they do have 1, 2, 3, 4 different segments. I guess we'll see how we go here, but tomorrow we're going to be doing multiple budgets, and we may, just to make sure that we give equal time to all the counselors, we may do the speaking limits, like 5 minutes per, and we'll just keep going around as long as we need to, but just so we don't, we give everybody kind of an opportunity to ask questions. We could try that today. I think we have enough time to get through this. So maybe we'll just proceed without doing the speaking limits today and see how that goes. So I want to welcome the Public Utilities Department. I said yesterday, we look forward to these hearings. They're an opportunity for us to really understand the day in, day out work you all do, kind of the accomplishments that you've achieved in this fiscal year and are hopeful of completing, and then sort of looking ahead to next fiscal year. And it's just an opportunity for this committee to better understand the inner workings of your department, and we look forward to diving into the conversation. So I want to welcome you, want to thank your team. I know you're all hardworking people. You appear in front of us in various capacities throughout the year in different committees, so it's good to see you all here today. I do want to defer just momentarily. We have City Manager Blair with us. I'm glad you're feeling better. We also have the mayor. I don't know if you all wanted, anything you wanted to say this morning, as we get kicked off, or should we? All right, we sound like we're good. So over to you, Director Dupuy, and if you can introduce your staff as appropriate and necessary, we'll just cede the floor to you. So welcome.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll just start with a brief overview of our structure. It includes providing services for water, wastewater, and environmental services to the utility customers, and it's supported by a utility billing and admin division. The presentation includes highlights, accomplishments, and goals for each, and please ask questions as we go. In terms of goals, you'll notice a trend on focusing on technology and infrastructure. Largely, the three core services we provide have lots of infrastructure that needs rehabilitation, and our focus on that is intentional. So I'll start by introducing you to our division directors and then provide them time each to review those highlights, accomplishments, and goals. The first is Miss Nancy Jimenez, our utility billing division director. We also have Dr. Jesse Roach, our water division director. We also have Michael Dozier, our wastewater division director. I believe I'm going in the correct order. I'll just double check. Yeah, and our interim division director for environmental services division, Deborah Trujillo. So with that, I'll kick it off to Nancy to give an overview from the utility billing and admin division.
No, is the light on?
It is on.
Oh, there you go.
There we
You
go.
just
Yeah,
need to move
a
the
little closer.
mic closer. Yeah, and we usually can hear you in the chamber, but anybody watching on the streaming can't hear you if
Okay.
the mic's off.
Well, let me know if streaming doesn't work. So as Director Dupuy indicated, we do have a public utilities department. And of course, utility billing customer service is the division that I am in charge of. Budget highlights for both the department, admin, and for utility billing, at least for this budget, we do want to acknowledge that, of course, the comp and class and the 3% is in this budget. We do have a struggle with vacant positions. So we are hoping that this increase will bring individuals to the city and keep them long-term in positions. Right now, we have about 7 positions that are vacant, so we will be still continuing to work and hire those. And again, hopefully the 3% across the board, along with the hybrid, will help with that. Sorry, I keep getting feedback. Second one is, of course, there is funding in the budget for the funding of the, I don't think they can hear us on.
Yeah, so the mic needs to be kind of right in front of you, otherwise it doesn't pick up. But it was doing fine there.
Or maybe that one works. Okay, so
Yeah,
Keep the microphones apart, I would say, and pull it closer, but speak softer.
I can't speak.
That's the
No,
trick.
John. Okay, we'll try this. So we do have funding available for the enhancement of a billing system. We have been talking about that for several years now. So I do, at this point, apologize for that, but we hopefully will get there at some point, sooner rather than later. And with that, as you'll see in our accomplishments and goals, we do have scheduled trainings for all of our business processes that happen within the department and within my division in particular and admin. So some of the accomplishments for administration and utility billing, we did start, of course, like I said, the business process trainings. We have 4 scheduled, so we've done 1 this year. And with that, we've included financial individuals from the finance department, from land use, any and all departments that utilities, works with on a daily basis. We do have 3 more scheduled in the next fiscal year, so you will see that funding. We of course we have completed with obviously all of the assistance from the finance department, year 23's audit. So we've given all of the information that we needed to give and provide. I know that Director Oster and her team are working diligently to get that done, and we did have a big lift, for utilities, for the enterprise funds. So that has, of course, been completed and turned in, and my understanding is it will be done and completed very soon and on time, so we will be caught up. And the reason that I mention that is further down in more accomplishments and more goals, there are some findings that have come out that we are also addressing for utilities, one of which will be a resolution for the write-off coming soon. We would also, one of our accomplishments is the increase of Ion Water. Many of you are aware of Ion Water. It is a water conservation program that we also use for meter reading. This helps individuals sign into an app and get on Ion Water, and they can actually watch their water use daily, hourly, monthly. They can also get alerts. So if something were to happen, God forbid they have a leak, hopefully they're alerted before they get maybe a $2,000 bill and can't pay that. So we are happy to report that it started at 11% when I walked in the door, June of 2019. It has increased to it started at 11%. It increased to 20%. We do, of course, hope that keeps going higher and higher. It really does help with managing and water conservation, but also managing, bills that individuals receive. During COVID, as you're all aware, the emergency proclamation by the mayor was for about 3 years, we did not turn water service off for non-payment. We did stop that. And as of October of 2023, we reinstated turning individuals off with the proper notification and so on for non-payment. I am happy to announce we started with about $2.9 million that was owed to the utility. By December 31st of 2023, we had collected all of that except for $217,000. There initially was about 2,500 accounts affected, and we cleared out 1,224 accounts. So there's still work to be done. There's always going to be work to be done. But I would say, getting back $3.2 million owed to the utility is quite a feat in a year. I do have to thank my staff. They are wonderful. They are absolutely diehards in trying to get this caught up and cleared up. And then, of course, to assist with any lingering, problems or issues with bills, we do still send out lien letters. So we do put liens on individual owners and their property. That is another tool that we have in our little bag to hopefully collect all of the money for the services that the department provides throughout the year. So those are our accomplishments. And there's many, many more, but of course we are limited to time and we are limited to bullets. So those are just kind of the top ones. Some of our goals, again, you can see them, continue to provide the complete audit, obviously with timeliness. Another big push is, going to start come July 1st, and we will be doing audit for 24 and meet those deadlines in December. The creation of an administrative service division is on the horizon. The administrative department right now, as it stands, doesn't necessarily have a division specifically for procurement and contracts and invoicing and invoices. So we will be looking at increasing an additional division. Hopefully we can do most of that within personnel that we have, but there may be some adjustments that need to be made on that division. Again, like I said, in the highlights, we will be completing 3 more business process trainings. We will include still finance and land use and other departments that are affected either by utilities or, you know, what processes they handle for us. The updating and creation or finalization of division policies is in support with also the business processes and hopefully fulfilling a lifelong dream of mine, or at least for the last 5 years, of getting the billing system, you know, upgraded and updated. With that new billing system, there will be new procedures, there will be new policies, along with updating the policies that we do have. So there may be a time where we have to modify the ordinances. So we will potentially be coming back and asking for that assistance with any ordinances that, you know, we feel that we need to move in a better or different direction than what's currently on the books. That will be forthcoming. And then, of course, the last is, at least in my division, and I shouldn't say the last because we have so many, but reduction still with the accounts receivable. Earlier, I mentioned about a write-off. That write-off only will take us through 2019 per state statute, per best practices from the audit recommendations and from the auditors. We do need to do a financial write-off each year, but those accounts need to be older than 4 years. So there is stipulation. And when the most recent write-off comes forward in the next, hopefully, a month or so, we can kind of dive a little bit deeper into that. But for right now, I just kind of wanted to put it on the horizon and let individuals know that that will be one of our goals, is to make sure that it gets done this fiscal year and then continue it every year so that we're meeting the auditors, the financial stability of the utility department, and then, of course, city. So for that, or with that, I do stand for any questions. I have some of my staff here too, if I can't answer a question or something else comes up. So thank you.
And did you want to introduce any of that staff? Just sometimes the more time you sit here, the more you know who the players are. But for some of our newer counselors and for folks online, they may not know who does what and the depth of folks that we have. So I don't know if you want to take the
I
opportunity to
definitely
quickly
can.
address them. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely can. Thank you for the opportunity. Right to my right is Vanji Soalivas. She is my billing supervisor. So she goes through all kind of the headaches and everything that we have to do all week and then bill Thursday nights. So she has come and the customer service supervisor probably got stuck at work with a customer. So she's unable to attend right now. If she comes in, I may chime in a little bit later. But yeah, so it's going to bring two. Thank you.
Great. And her name is?
Susan Mora.
Okay, terrific. Thank you. Questions from the committee on this division? I just want to let the finance committee know, we will be hearing a presentation. I believe it's at our next finance committee meeting Monday night on the work that's going on the utility billing and some of the changes. So we'll have an opportunity to take hear more and take a deeper dive there. And just so you know, you'll be getting more information on that. And that presentation has been made at the Public Works, Public Utilities Committee as well. So coming attractions. Questions from the committee on this? All right. Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Next, we have our Water Division. Mr. Jesse Roach is the Division Director and has, I don't see the next slide, a list of talking points that he's going to speak from.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, thank you for your time and attention today. Just a few highlights that I wanted to go over from the Water Division budget. As I think with most city budgets, A very large amount of our budget does go to salary and benefits. We also have a $1.36 million item that it goes to the general fund for the franchise fee. And this year we've set aside $200,000 to start working on a update to Chapter 25, which is the water portion of the city code. A few accomplishments from the current fiscal year, when actually last calendar year. We had an exciting year on the Santa Fe River last year, and utilizing sort of new technology, we were able to fill our reservoirs completely, but not spill them. And so we were able to thread the needle between reservoir management and sort of flood control management on the Santa Fe River. We came to terms with Santa Fe County on a wheeling agreement by which they will pay us a certain amount for any water that they wheel through our system. And we agreed to terms with the Office of the State Engineer on our state permit for the San Juan Chama return flow project. So that's an incredibly important project for us. And I would say there's three major milestones associated with that: or a state permit, a federal permit, and an engineering design. And we're basically done with the state permit. We're working hard on the federal permit, and we are 30% of the way along in our engineering design. And then we also procured a $17 million contract for a large rehabilitation project starting at Nichols Dam. And the trucks have started to roll, and the real dirt will start to move at the end of July, early August. A couple of goals for next fiscal year to point out are we would like to pass a backflow prevention ordinance. We are working to select a software to sort of guide our asset management program. And then one more that I'll point out that's not on the list is we're working to implement a digital twin, which is essentially an ability for us to simulate what we think is happening from a pressure and flow perspective anywhere in the system, in any pipe, as well as age of water and source of water, and then compare that in real time to actual measurements of pressure and flow so that we have a sense of whether the system's working or something's happening before someone calls us and tells us something's wrong. So those are the big points that I wanted to point out from the perspective of our budget, and happy to stand for questions. Oh, and I would also like to introduce Christine Chavez. For those who don't know her, she heads up our conservation efforts. Christine, thanks for coming. And with that, would stand for any questions.
Questions from the committee? Counselor Cassett.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair, and thank you everyone for being here. I really do appreciate it. I know that this is a lot for y'all. Jesse, I was curious about the backflow prevention ordinance. If you could just give some more information on what that is, why it's important, what needs to be changed.
Madam Chair, Councilor Cassett, thank you for that question. And that's something that we will be bringing through committee, hopefully in the next couple of months. But essentially, backflow prevention is required by development code to put backflow preventers on certain meters, which essentially prevents flow that has already passed through the meter and maybe is no longer necessarily safe from coming back into our system if there's a sudden loss in pressure on our side of the systems due to, say, a main break, or a sudden pressure increase on their side of the system because, let's say, they have a domestic well. So those are the situations where you can actually have water moving the wrong way through a meter. And so we do have requirements for that infrastructure, but at the moment we don't have any enforcement of that. And so this will be a program that essentially inventories those and requires annual testing of the backflow devices.
Wonderful, thank you. That was some great education. I appreciate it. I also was very excited to hear about the digital twin. I've actually been learning about this from some community members and other individuals that are looking at different ways that this can be utilized. So look forward to hearing more about it. I'm very curious how we might be able to invest in software technology for this that would potentially be a available to expand to other city departments, because it sounds like a lot of other communities are using them for airports, for land use, for all sorts of really interesting city needs. So glad you guys are getting started with that. Really looking forward to it, but also would like to think about how this might be an investment that we could expand upon citywide, and make sure that that integration happens. Because obviously, as you all know, the work that you do impacts every other department and a lot of the other components of the city that are important. So look forward to hearing more. Thank you so much.
Other questions from the committee? I just want, yes.
Can I just take the bait from Counselor Cassett's last comment, because I think it's spot on. And in fact, those conversations have already begun. The idea of a digital twin pilot with these good folks has already led to conversations with land use and the way in which a digital twin Lego block building exercise could say, okay, this is one through line that absolutely touches everything. How does it relate to our updating of the general plan? How does it relate to looking at the overall growth of the city for parks, for schools? How do you model that? These folks are well aware of your observation and have already initiated those conversations, that this is step one toward assembling a much more complete capability that would do it exactly what you're talking about.
Wonderful. Glad to hear. Thank you so much.
Director Roach, can you talk a little bit? I think this is an opportunity, because we may have a wider audience at the moment. You have been talking about this at Public Works, Public Utilities, the rehabilitation of Nichols Dam. And can you just speak to the timing of the start of that project, the number of years it's going to take, and kind of what the impact is in terms of what we're doing, why we're doing it, just a teachable moment kind of thing.
Madam Chair, thank you. I'd be happy to do so. Nichols Dam is the lower and the smaller of our two dams on the Santa Fe River. It's about 80 years old, and the outlet conduit, which is essentially the tunnel that the water flows through after it leaves the reservoir in order to get through the dam, is very old technology, and it is there's some seepage of water into that, and that's not concerning by itself, but it's time for us to upgrade that. And so the project essentially is going to be to create a new conduit, a pressurized conduit through there. It'll actually allow for us to deliver pressurized water to Nichols, and so we will have a opportunity at some point to add hydroelectric power to those releases. And the schedule for this large project is, as I said, the contractor is already mobilized, and there's work occurring already, but really we are now dealing with the spring runoff, and we are blessed to have a nice snowpack again this year, but we have to manage that inflow, and essentially we're going to try and front load our treatment at Canyon Road. And once we have passed the spring runoff, and the target right now is to have Nichols completely empty by the end of July, and then the groundbreaking and the true work will begin 1st of August and proceed through the winter. And our hope is that by May of next year, we're ready to catch the snow melt from next year. So that's the schedule that we're working within, and we certainly have contingencies and backup plans, but that's plan A.
And how long is that going to take? Did you say that?
Well,
It may be TBD, but
we'll be buttoning it up. We hope to be buttoning it up by May of 25, and hopefully we'll be completely done with it by the end of fiscal year 25. That's plan A.
okay. Okay. Terrific.
I guess, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Chair, one other thing to add is that when we discovered some of these, sort of aging infrastructure issues, the Office of the State Engineers, Office of Dam Safety, downgraded both of the dams, Nichols and McClure, from satisfactory to poor rating because of this sort of aging infrastructure. So as soon as we're done with Nichols, we're going to move upstream and work on McClure. And so those are two of the large CIP projects that we have on our radar, are those two dam rehabilitation projects.
Okay, is it possible to have Christine Chavez join us at the table? Since you all brought up Ion Water, I just want to, again, another opportunity to educate folks. And in the budget book here, it says increased customer usage of Ion Water app from 11% in 2019 to 20% in 2023, allowing more customers to monitor their water usage. And I believe your office is working on, moving that up even more with a possible rebate and continuing to work on getting folks to download that app and use it to monitor their water use. Can you just speak to that briefly? I think it would be great to, again, let the community know more about that particular work that's going on in your office.
Sure. Thank you so much for the opportunity to talk about water conservation's efforts. Specific to Ion Water, I am working closely with Nancy right now and the billing division to come up with a pilot program that will allow us to provide an incentive for customers to sign up for Ion Water. Right now, that would be voluntary. It would be a $20 incentive, but we do see that becoming a requirement of our rebate program moving forward, and even a requirement of a leak adjustment credit moving forward. So it's voluntary now, but I think that as we move forward in that process, we'll get a lot more people signing up.
Great. And can you just speak briefly, since I brought you down here, to the value of that app and what it's helping?
Sure. So Nancy covered it pretty well. Customers are able to see their water usage on a hourly, monthly, annual basis. They're able to set a leak alert so that if they're away within 24 hours, they'll be alerted that something unusual is happening. It will also allow people in the summer, as we hit these high-tiered water rates, to stay within a water budget so that they don't hit that $21 per 1,000 gallons. And so on our end, on water conservation, and it's a way for us to identify high water users, leaks out in the city that we need to investigate. Bob Wood from our office is on that portal all the time looking for those opportunities. So on both ends, for staff and for our customers, it's a very valuable app.
Great. So, and where do people go to get this app?
So the city, I'm just going to plug our website, savewatersantafe.com. There's directions on that website on how to sign up, how to set up the threshold alert. And then you can always contact our staff or customer service to sign up.
Terrific. And I know there's lots more going on in water conservation, you're technically under the water division, so I didn't have you come down and talk about Ion Water with Nancy. But thank you for talking about it as part of the water division where the conservation office sits. So thank you. Yes, Councilor Cassett.
Thank you so much. Hi, Christine. Good to see you. Quick question on Ion Water app. So I know that I personally can't download it because I'm on a shared meter. And so I'm curious about when you say the requirement and how this would work. How is it going to work for individuals like myself that it doesn't work for? I mean, I imagine that my HOA would be the one that would benefit, but would like to hear a little bit more about that for those that it doesn't quite work for.
So right now, this is a pilot program where we're offering the incentive. I would imagine that Nancy and I will be having lots of conversations moving forward about how we would deal with those situations. So I really can't speak to how we would implement that at that point. That's just moving or looking forward. I think that we could see that this tool could be a requirement to receive other things like rebates or leak adjustment credits moving forward. But I think we still have to work through some of those things.
Okay, wonderful. Well, glad to put it on the radar. And then I did also speak with a constituent just this past weekend that they had been trying to download Ion Water. We didn't get into the details, but essentially they were having some type of challenge. I can definitely get more information, but I don't know if there is a place to go for individuals who have feedback. If they're, trying to follow on the website, they're not able to get this to work properly for them, or if there's anywhere that that's being collected as a challenge. I think that would be helpful just as we continue to utilize this tool, because I agree that it is something that we want everybody to, or everybody who can, to have access to. Do you guys have a place that I'd be able to send them, or anybody else, or do I just send them to you?
You can send them to me. Our team works on that daily. I know customer service does as well, but it is a water conservation goal. And so please send them our way and we'd be happy to help them out.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions from the committee on anything having to do with the water division? Yes, Counselor Castro.
Thank you all so much for the presentation. Are we also thinking about adding hydroelectric to McClure?
Madam Chair, Counselor Castro, that's something we have thought about, and I'm not familiar with sort of the last time we seriously looked at the cost benefit of that, but it's certainly something we keep in mind. We don't have any plans on the immediate horizon to implement that, but it is, we are looking into an energy sort of directed study of our operations, because utility use of energy is one of the largest components of city use. And so on the flip side, if we can generate energy, that helps. So as part of that process, I will revisit that idea, because it's certainly something we've talked about in theory, but it's nowhere near as close as the potential for it at Nichols is now.
And since we do have a few places where we generate energy, who manages that energy?
Typically, when we generate energy, we generate it next to a load. So if you drive down the Buckman Road, you'll see big solar arrays, and they're next to our pump stations. And so the idea, like if you were to put solar electricity on your home, the idea is that it offsets your use. The best way is to keep us from buying electricity from PNM. And so that's why those are cited there. But in terms of deciding when we pump and how we can maximize the renewable resources that we have, that's up to us. And that's why we're kind of trying to get a better handle on how we manage that.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I see the floor.
Okay, just maybe in closing, you've got a big What's Up with Water presentation coming up next week. Can you just talk about the date, the times, and how people can listen to it in real time, or participate in real time, or watch later?
Madam Chair, thank you very much for that opportunity. A week from tomorrow, Thursday, April 25th, we will have two sessions, one here in the council chambers at 9 a.m. And one at Genevieve Chavez Community Center at 6 p.m. Each of those will also be hybrid option with a Zoom link, and both will be recorded, and we will put the recordings on our website. So santafenm.gov/water will get you to our landing page, and all the Zoom information is available there.
Great, thank you. And do we have any other questions for the Water Division? If not, I think we're ready to move on. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Next, we have our wastewater division, Mr. Michael Dozier.
Madam Chair, members of the committee. Good afternoon. Wastewater is, in our budget highlights, we're showing an effort to remove E. coli using chlorination and dechlorination, which is an addition of chemical that is added to the effluent stream to try and remove that E. coli to be trying to get into compliance. It's the second actual chemical that we use that is of mass use. The only other chemical that we use is for polymer, and that's when we're using it to get rid of sludge and bulk and turn into compost. So we try to get to the point where we don't have any chemicals, but the addition of the chlorine and dechlorination is for that effluent. We're also trying to work on education efforts to get more licensed operators, grow our own in-house. It's been very difficult to get any operators with licensing already here in Santa Fe. Most of it, well, the training and the new systems that we're putting in, we have to implement added training to everyone because the technology, the new equipment that comes in, everyone has no idea what it does. So you need to get at least added education from, sometimes it's from the actual vendor, but other times we have to get contractors or actual training companies that are in New Mexico that could help us out. We've accomplished this year. One of the hardest things that we've dealt with is dealing with the exposed lines that can happen. I don't know if any of you have crossed between the arroyos. Well, they're not even the arroyos, it's actually the Santa Fe River. We have some lines that run parallel in there. Well, rain, storm events, anything can happen. It'll wash away the edge of the river bed and start making it even wider. So we have to go back and cover these trunk lines. And this year, it was very difficult to get into a few of the places. And we actually got in through private property that they allowed us to get in, and through their side that we could dump dirt and some gravel and other packing to get that covered. The other things that we were really proud of in the accomplishments was working through our master plan. We've got it going now finally. This is big coming to try and get it completed because, as some of you know, they're going through the committees. The master plan is really like our future look, where we're seeing. It's our crystal ball. So we need to figure out what we're going to do with the facility we have now, and we're contemplating new facilities. The master plan goes through and actually explains what direction is the best to go through the contractor, looking at everything from cost and values of the facilities, or even age, equipment status, what can be done, and what is our best interest to go for. Coordinating efforts to possible changes to the TMDLs are total maximum daily loadings. So all of that is related to the nutrients in the Santa Fe River. And we know we're going to have changes in our NPDES permits. They're going to happen. We're going to have a more stringent level that we have to meet. Well, coordinating those efforts is mainly looking at what equipment can do it, what is better, and what is more feasible for the city to actually accomplish the limits that are going to be there. As an example, reverse osmosis is one of the ones that was looked at, and reverse osmosis will pretty much remove all of the nutrients. The biggest issue that we end up having with the reverse osmosis is when you take those nutrients out, they are all combined and added together now, and now you have a concentrated waste stream that you have to remove and get rid of. And you can't just take a waste stream that has, outrageous amounts of nitrogen in it and just throw it away somewhere. So the fall of that would be more a problem to the environment for us to concentrate that and be wasting it somewhere or injecting it into the ground or whatever other process we could get rid of it. So that was one of the ones that we really focused on and looked at to see the feasibility, and it's not one that we would actually like to use. So main goals for the year, number one, compliance with all permits. We're working to get there now. Some of the emergency information that we've been doing, working with the contractors. Continued career training and development with the employees is huge. There's no other way that we can just get people from other places or entice them to come here. Then we have to grow our own here and create the actual licensed operators here in-house. Completing the master plan, we're hoping end of summer, early fall that we should be done. And integrating data management systems and SCADA controls, it's all going back again. Now we're talking about digital twin again. And just as water's doing, we're trying to do the same. We kind of have a little internal race to see who gets there first, but we'll find out which one wins. Really a holistic view of the utilities, because interconnection between everything from billing to whatever water's coming, going to homes and then coming back to the plant. Well, once we get the return pipeline going, well, we have to be integrated and connected with water out at Buckman for what kind of return we're going to have to give back so that we can make sure that we're getting the full amount of credits that we're trying to get each day through the process. So honestly, the training is huge. The understanding and the interconnection is another big part of the whole system, and all the applicable pieces that have to come together, we have to make it work somehow. So we're gonna just keep working at it, and that's probably one of the biggest goals that's gonna keep going for multiple years. And I stand for questions.
Lots going on in your division. So thank you for being here. Questions from the committee? Counselor Lee Garcia.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Dozier, for the kind of rundown of where we're at. And I know that this has been, obviously, wastewater has been kind of in the eye of the public because of what's going on. And I think that working towards these goals that you have, and it's kind of nice to have a friendly competition within departments where you can go to see where you're at and who's going to get there first. So I do appreciate that. And you know, I think it's within our you know, this governing body's will to help this department the best we can. And mostly because we do need to be in the compliance area. And I think that's where we all realize that this is going to take a lot, and the support of this governing body and this administration and the people that are in your department. And so I really don't have many questions. I know that part of the budget will entail a lot of funding that's going to be needed for these areas. And I think we've gone through this in Public Works, but what would be our highest priority right now in regards to wastewater to address some of the main issues that we're having?
Currently our highest, or I'm sorry, Madam Chair, Councilor Garcia, currently our highest priority is getting the emergency construction piece that we're working on to get better filtration and cleaner water going out so that we do get into the compliance again. But the long term is more getting the interconnections with SCADA, which is our supervisory data acquisition system that basically is like all the pieces and parts that are out there that have now been automated, sending back the information to a centralized computer system. So we're trying to get probably all of it in play to be the work that's going on right now to get the sand filters back alive. Then we have to get all of the information from the sand filters up to our computer system. Well, at the same time, that getting it back to the computer system is so that we can watch what it's doing and make sure it's doing the job it's supposed to. Well, then we have to train everybody on how to watch that and understand it. So we don't really have just one perfect piece that's going to be, you know, the be all end all and fix it. And that's the most important thing. It's like every single piece of it is important.
where are we in regards to the master plan, the treatment facility master plan?
So we're looking at possibly late summer, mid-fall to actually have the master plan very close to completion or completed. And that would be possibly September or October.
Okay, and you're well along in that process? I mean, you're,
Yes, that process is well underway.
oh, thank you, Madam Chair, no more questions.
Other committee members? Counselor Cassett?
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. Thank you so much for being here, Director Dozier. I wanted to hear a little bit more about the need for us to create licensed operators in-house and what this looks like. I actually am excited to hear that that is a direction that that you all are moving in, because I think giving those growth opportunities and educational opportunities to staff is wonderful, and really hoping that they have ways to advance their career and expand their learning. It sounds like it might be a heavy lift though, so I was hoping to hear a little bit more about what is required and how that's going. I mean, is it, you know, how we're able to move that along?
Madam Chair, Counselor Cassett, this is something we take very seriously. We think if we do this program correctly, it's our own recruiting tool. And that if we're built to be able to educate the public, it then provides resources to the region. Ultimately, there isn't the best of status with regards to the state's offerings for educating operators that would then be ready to operate a facility. And so there's this significant component that even if you can have the ability to test for the certification and pass, doesn't mean that you have the ability to operate a facility. And that has to come with some on-the-job training that we would provide. Otherwise, implementing our new systems is not something that we will find those who can run or operate successfully. And developing that program can, like I said, be its own recruiting tool, because we've brought in new technology, we've brought in the latest capabilities, and we have a high level of understanding and documentation to learn from. Once that's in place, it's something that sets us up for success well into the future. And so the community college, the state program, what we can do at the facility, what we are doing at our other facilities, leveraging all those pieces together is something that we're putting forward to create that pipeline.
Okay, wonderful. So it sounds like this is something that is currently in creation right now.
That's correct.
Great. Looking forward to learning more about that as we go. Let me check all of my highlights. I think that might have covered everything that wasn't covered. Thank you so much.
Other questions from the committee? Counselor Castro?
Thank you so much. I appreciate the presentation. Is there any ability that we have right now to test for forever chemicals?
Madam Chair, Councilor Castro, we're currently testing for the forever chemicals, and we're actually working with one of our contractors to set up a sampling program for the property next door to us and our monitoring wells that are actually in the ground there.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I know that there's some legislation that might affect us, and so I know that we're ahead of the game. Thank you so much. I see the floor.
Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about your, you brought up the TMDL and the NPDES permit, lots of alphabet soup. Maybe what you should start with is what all those, well, you did tell us that TMDL stand for, but not what the NPDES permit is and why that's important. Maybe we start there, but then I want to talk a little bit about the RO system that you mentioned, which I assume is a compliance, a way to be compliant with that permit. But maybe first you can tell us a little bit about what that permit is and why it's important.
Madam Chair, that permit is the actual permit that we're using through the EPA for our discharge. It's the National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System. So that is the actual main permit that the plant works off of. So we have multiple permits, but that is the one that is the actual federal EPA permit for our discharge to the Santa Fe River. Now, we have other discharge permits that would be the DP 289 and the DP 135. Those are permits that are state permits and therefore are reuse and the old sludge fields. So I want to say through those pieces, the permits would be changing. So right now we have a nitrogen level of 6.9 milligrams per liter. And the state is looking at turning that into somewhere between 2 and 1 milligrams per liter. So it would literally take us double down below what we were at now. The reasoning for the look at the RO system was reverse osmosis takes everything out. It's very aggressive. It can take all of the nutrients out, nitrogen, phosphorus, anything that would be on our permit that could be removed from the water. Part of the issue that you have with reverse osmosis, though, is one, you create an aggressive water that wants to pull everything in because you've just taken everything out of it. So when you put it back in the river, it would want to draw nutrients out of the riverbed and could kill plants and trees that are out in it. So you would still have to blend that water with another water to calm it down, basically. The biggest issue that we were looking at was you're basically making concentrated nutrients as your waste stream from it. So if you had something like a 6 or 7 of milligram per liter of let's say nitrogen in your water, once it went through the RO and you pulled all of that out, if you're looking at it in 1 million gallons or something like that, and you interpolate it out to what that concentrate would be, you'd be in some astronomical value of nitrogen would be in that water. Now, you can't just take that waste stream and put it back in your process. You can't throw it away in a trash can. So most of the time, if there's no way to get rid of it locally, then it would be put into an injection well that would feed it into an injection well that is further than your water aquifers would be. So it's very difficult to work on something like that or be injecting that in there, and you start turning into the same possibilities of other issues that come up in the future with the environment that we're not sure of or don't know of because you're injecting it back into the ground.
The injection is how you dispose of what you pulled
concentrate.
out, which is now determined to be waste, correct?
Yes, the concentrate would be what you were injecting. And it would be in multiple 1,000-foot well that would go down into the ground, but who's not to say that your new aquifer you want to tap into is that deep in 20 years?
Right. So let me tell you what I think I heard. So this NPDES permit is the requirements are going to be more stringent. And we're going to have to comply with more stringent regulations around the quality of the water that's released from the plant.
Madam Chair, yes.
And RO is one way of maybe meeting that more stringent requirement or level. But what you're telling us is there's some things that we don't know the impact of, or there are problems with that. And I guess it's curious to me that you mentioned that one. Is that is that being used somewhere else? Is that sort of in the industry, the thing that everybody thinks is the go-to? Are there a range of ways you're looking at trying to meet this new stringent standard for water quality? Or is RO really the thing, and what you're telling us is it's not all peaches and cream, there's some real problems that still have to be worked out.
Madam Chair, the main reason for looking at RO is it's I guess the easy standard. It's the one guaranteed treatment that everyone knows can remove everything. So your availability of being able to purchase something like that, if you have the funding to do it, it can be purchased. Now, there are other possibilities and changes and different ideas that have gone through to remove nutrients. We're actually working on 2 studies that will be done between laboratories that they want to use algae to remove nutrients. Now, we're not completely sure, and it is in a test process, so we're gonna allow them an area to do their testing. Now, there are other possibilities of removing nutrients with either process changes or different equipment that may take out the majority, but not as much as an RO could. So reverse osmosis is just the one that is like the guarantee be all end all, it's gonna take it out.
Is anybody else using it, or that is is what's out there?
There
what
are
you're telling
places
me.
that are using it,
In New Mexico?
not in New Mexico that I know of. I
Okay.
know there's a few in California, but their discharge goes back into the ocean.
Interesting. All right, so sort of coming attractions in your field about the things you're gonna have to deal with this new plant, with the plant and all the changes that we're making. There are real challenges ahead with more stringent permits, was mentioned forever chemicals and the regulations that are being developed and released on that coming down too. We don't have that problem yet, but that's probably only a matter of time, I would think.
Madam Chair, I agree. It will be just a matter of time, but what we're trying to do now is try to prepare for the future and see if we can get to the point where we're treating it before we even have to do a permit.
Right. So lots of forward thinking. And the plant was built in 1962. I think it's really important that people know that. I'm going to keep saying it every chance I get so people understand how old the plant is. Things have been done to it. We put in issued green energy bonds, I think is what you call them, and put in a digester, which is really cutting edge technology. We've done a lot of, to Councilor Castro's earlier question about energy use, we've done some energy upgrades out there, but this master plan really couldn't come at a better time in terms of modernizing this facility, which was originally built in 62 to meet the new demands of that we're facing in the environment, and being ready to continue to deliver high water quality back to the river.
I completely agree, Madam Chair. Thank you.
All right. Well, good luck with all that. Really appreciate all the work. I know you all are doing quite a lot to address the issues, and there's really no shortage of issues that are coming down the pipe at you. So, any other questions from the committee? All right. Then I think we're on to environmental services. Am I right?
Yes, Madam Chair. I'd like to introduce Deborah Trujillo. She's our interim division director. Glad she was waiting in the wings and able to assist when Ms. Charlene Sutton moved on to greener pastures at the state and is now, I believe, our regulator. So looking forward to working with her in the future as well.
Hello, hi, I'm
Hi.
Deborah.
Welcome.
My current position is actually, I am the utility billing manager and customer service for environmental services. I just want to take a few minutes real quick to recognize some staff that I brought along with us.
Terrific.
First one is Allison Long. She is in our sustainability office. She is our sustainability office right now while we're advertising for the sustainability supervisor. Also is Abran Sanchez, or Abe Sanchez, he is our operations manager. He's in charge of all the residential and commercial collections for recycling and trash, along with the welding and maintenance workers. Carol Branch, which needs no introduction. Everybody knows Carol Branch with Keep Santa Fe Beautiful. And last but not least is Lawrence Garcia, who is our jack of all trades in our division, but he is our fleet section manager. Just to touch on a few budget highlights, in this year's budget, we are, requesting some purchase of some new vehicles. We're looking at purchasing some 2 rear load, 2 front load, and 2 roll-off trucks. We're currently waiting right now for some fleet that has been ordered that should be delivered anytime, which is 2 additional front load, 2 automated collection vehicles, 1 roll-off, and 2 special collection vehicles and 3 support vehicles for our mechanic and admin staff. A few accomplishments that are very important to our division. Just want to let you know, Keep Santa Fe Beautiful raised over $20,000 in the anti-litter beautification efforts at its first charity golf tournament. They also collected over 35 tons at several events that they have, the Toss No Mas, Zozobra, the Great American Cleanup. They adopted out 5 medians on the south side. Also, that's not on here, is that the nonprofit Keep Santa Fe Beautiful renovated 3 medians on St. Francis and Cerrillos. Not sure if you guys have been able to see that, but get a chance, look at that. Also, they distributed, it's a Critters Don't Litter in the Santa Fe Public Schools. We're looking at next year also trying to do that. We just got to purchase more books. So we're definitely going to keep up the efforts in going to the public schools and educating kids about recycling and trash and litter. One of our very key points in our accomplishments this year is that before Comping Class was implemented, ESD staff was able to work with budget, finance, HR to implement an increase for our operators and for our senior lead workers. So in addition to Comping Class, we raised up their base pay salary by an additional $2.59 for those workers, which was very, they were very thankful. And I think it did a lot on our part to show that initiative that we were working for them. I mean, for them, yeah, I guess you could say. Another huge accomplishment is that we did the completion and the publication of the second municipal greenhouse inventory comparing 2018 and 2022. One thing that's not on here is this past weekend, we attended the rodeo. It's road -EO, but anyway, it's a competition on a sanctioned obstacle course. We had 3 of our drivers go out there to compete in front load and automated side load. We had Albert Valdez, who placed first in the front load. We had Patricio Lopez, who placed second, and Nicole Encinas, who is one of the automated drivers, which was only one of 2 females out there. She placed third. Yeah, so it was real, yeah, it was awesome. So the top 2 get to go off to a bid for national. So they'll be going to Georgia in October to compete for the city of Santa Fe, which was great. Yeah. A few goals that we have, these aren't all of our goals, but these are just a few goals that we're looking for this next coming year, is that we want to complete the RFP and begin construction on the admin maintenance facility. Lawrence Garcia is the head of that. And so if you have any additional questions, that's one of our main goals, is to get a new facility for ESD. We definitely want to concentrate on filling some of our vacancies. We have 11 vacancies within ESD, which range from operators, maintenance workers, customer service staff, a division director, sustainability, a few key positions that we're gonna hopefully fill this year, which I think, we will, especially now with the operator's salary being a little bit higher. Keep Santa Fe Beautiful plans to increase its community partners for litter cleanup for continual improvements in the litter index survey. You all are familiar with the litter index, yeah. This year, we celebrate the 10th anniversary of the plastic grocery bag ban, working with Peter Olson, our outreach guy. So we're definitely going to plan something this year to reach out to celebrate that. 10 years is a long time. I didn't actually think it was that. We're going to work in conjunction with utility billing and public utility staff to update, create, and finalize ESD policies and procedures. We're going to try and streamline some of our work processes and flows when it comes to the financials. And last but not least, we're going to do the implementation of a fleet management software for our fleet. We're working in conjunction with ITT to get a software and implement that for our service of our vehicles. With that, do you have any questions?
Questions from the committee? Counselor Cassidy?
Thank you so much. Mr. Hio, Mr. Sanchez, I owe you a phone call. I apologize. That's on me. After budget hearings, I will circle back with you. So
Great.
I wanted
Thank
to let you
you.
know, didn't forget, but thank you for being there and willing to chat with me about the transfer station. And thank you for stepping up into this position. I had one question that has to do with I believe it would be under here for sustainability, the $500,000 to support the clean energy program. I believe we had funded this last year. Looks like we are still going to need to be moving this forward. I was hoping to have a reminder on this program and get an update as to where we are we weren't
Let me
able
get
to move.
Alice able to touch.
Perfect, thank you.
Right. Hello, Madam Chair and Councilor Cassett. I will do my best. I was not involved in the budget for that particular fund. To the last of my knowledge, they were creating an RFP for the management of those funds. An RFP was never finalized. We had a consultant kind of put together a plan and help write that RFP. We still have it. That was something Neil Denton was working on before he left. To date, I think what has been used out of that fund is to fund the Solarize Santa Fe solar installation campaign. So I have that number. It was about $60,000 to run that for 1 year. And then 6 $5,000 stipends for low-income individuals to lower the price of that, of their electricity bills.
And could you just give an overview of this program again? I know when I saw it, it was one of those that I knew what it was, but could never explain it myself. So go right ahead.
It's totally okay. So it is hard to explain. Basically, you sign up individuals who are interested in a solar installation on their roofs. Because you're purchasing as a group, you do get a little discounted rate in that install. And then on top of that, low-income households receive $5,000 to further lower what their final electric bill would be. So there's an outreach process to get people interested in the program. Then the contractors were hired, the installs were done, and then ultimately those households did take on a solar loan. But essentially the price of the loan would have been equal to the electricity bills they were already paying. So ultimately they would own the installation.
Wonderful. And so it does sound like actually there was work that occurred with this last year. So happy to hear that some progress has been made. And if I'm understanding correctly, at the moment, if somebody was interested in this program, we're on a bit of a pause until we have a contractor to do the work, or is that an accurate understanding of where we are right now?
Counselor, when you say program, did you mean Solarize Santa Fe or did you mean the Clean Energy Fund?
Well, I'm sorry. So did you just describe Solarize Santa Fe and not okay, so what is a clean energy fund overall? And it helps fund Solarize Santa Fe, but it could be utilized for other sustainable projects for individuals, is my understanding, correct?
Potentially, I mean, it would be like a lending fund. So it'd be loans so you could get money back. To be honest, that's kind of the extent to what I know. But yes, the hope would be that it would fund a variety of things, not just Solarize Santa Fe.
Okay. And Solarize Santa Fe right now is active. So if somebody was interested in that, they could potentially reach out.
No, basically that follows kind of a year open and close. And so our last year was already closed out. And then we made the decision not to do it again until some decisions had been made about the Clean Energy Fund.
Okay, so a lot of this is to be determined as to what programs will be available, how people get involved, et cetera.
Correct.
Okay, all right, thank you so much.
Other questions from the committee? Um, 10th anniversary of the plastic grocery bag ban. I think I was just at a drugstore, cut my finger on a kitchen knife. I had to get some supplies. And they gave me a plastic bag. Is there a level of plastic that's okay or a type of plastic that's okay? Does anybody know?
Are you thinking of maybe like CVS that gives you those slightly more durable plastic bags?
Well, I wasn't gonna throw them under the bus, but.
Yeah, I think they are able to offer those because they call them reusable. But yes, they are made of.
Point of
plastic.
information.
Interesting. Counselor Castro.
I actually got a couple questions from constituents and so did some research and there is like a thickness that makes the difference of if it's a reusable plastic bag or if it's a one-time use plastic bag. But I would like to revisit that.
Interesting. Okay. Well, that satisfies that burning question. Critters don't litter. I'd love to hear more about that. I know there's been a lot of interest in working with the schools around litter awareness, litter cleanup. Didn't know about Critters Don't Litter, and happy to hear that we have this partnership with the city and Keep Santa Fe Beautiful and the public schools, and that's really awesome. And I think we ought to maybe toot that horn a little bit. So welcome, Carol Branch. What can you tell us and the public about that?
Madam Chair, members of the committee, we are a tiny staff, but we make sure every year that we try to go to as many schools as we can. And this year we extended that. I applied for a grant for more books to give out about 1,000 books to, I think this year we decided to do 5th and 6th graders or 4th and 5th graders.
And don't litter?
Absolutely, don't litter.
Okay. I'd love to see one of those books when you get them in. Wonder if we could do some sort of collaboration. It sounds like the books are, we need more. Curious, do we have them in the libraries?
Madam Chair, members, no, we don't. We did go into the classrooms and teach and then gave out the books. We gave out, I think, 600 books last year. So this year we're hoping to do 1,000. And it's a different book this year because we are teaching a different grade level.
Right. It might be an opportunity. I know your small staff don't want to, and you're doing mighty things. So certainly don't want to pile on, but wonder if there's an opportunity that might leverage your small staff in doing some of this work. Maybe, we have, I know in the library, we're doing they call it the Read Marathon or the Read, what is it called? Santa Fe Reads,
I believe.
Yeah, I wonder if we couldn't get a few of those books and add that to the reading list and I don't know, just widen the distribution and the message and the work that you all are doing, and maybe that attracts more money and allows more, I don't know, just thinking out loud here, because I know this is something that we're all thinking about, looking for opportunities for, and but in ways that don't overburden all the efforts that are already going on. So just very, very curious about that.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Actually, we could, if we had more funding, we could give out more books. We don't necessarily have to go read to them, but we could just distribute more books. That's a good idea.
Yeah, and I wonder if the library has any grants that are available or anything, or hey, out there, if there's a donor that wants to buy books, sounds like we could distribute them.
Good idea.
Anyway, all right, just thinking out loud. Thanks for all the litter work. I did participate in the survey, done that now twice, 2 years in a row. And I think you, if I'm not mistaken, you said that that was going to be something that helps us or helps you or helps the effort in terms of throughout the year targeting where we know we have problem spots. And so it's not just a one and done last weekend. Congratulations on a successful day, beautiful day, getting people out, but you're not one and done. That litter survey, litter, I'm mutilating the name, litter index survey really does inform the work that continues with your group throughout the year. Maybe just take a moment to talk about that.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for all of you for participating and leading by example. Well, we have targeted those areas, and so we work with the rangers, and anytime we have youth groups, anybody that needs to do community service, we target these areas, and we go district by district, so we're fair. And we are having a youth group from Texas come in May, I think 30 plus their adult volunteers, so we plan on tackling a few of those.
Wow. So we can reach into other places and have more force.
Absolutely, Madam Chair.
That's great. But the underlying thing is that we do use that litter index survey and the problem areas that are identified through it to continue the efforts throughout the year. Am I correct in that?
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, thank you for your work on all of this, and congratulations on the charity golf tournament proceeds to support the work that you all are doing. It is important. We all know it and appreciate it. So thank you.
Thank you. Every dollar goes into renovating more medians.
Terrific. All right. Let's see. Did I have any other questions? Looking through here. I think I'm good. Everybody else, any other questions from the committee? Yes.
Madam Chair.
City Manager Blair.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I just want to say real quick, our gratitude to Deborah Trujillo for stepping up. It is hard anytime to step up to be an acting division director or a department director, much less plop in the middle of your budget season. And so Deborah didn't blink before she stepped up to help lead, and we're grateful for all she's doing to keep us going forward and keep the great customer service for the ESD department happening. So thank you very much.
Yeah, certainly agree with that. So thanks for being here and thanks for picking up the slack. All right. We don't have another division, right? All right. Okay. Councilor Faulkner.
I think on page 81, I just have a couple of questions on the budget items. It looks like transfer to other funds went up almost 50%. Can you go into that a little bit?
Counselor, can you hear me? Yes, good. So a couple of different things. I will have to defer to the budget division and or Director Oster's employees to help with the specifics. I can though let you know that under public utilities as a department, most of that funding was in their line item last fiscal year, or I should say this current fiscal year. And so it, for whatever reason, transferred to utility billings line. So it does look like it more than doubled. It's like 103% of an increase specifically in public utilities line. I don't know if that was intentional or because public utility department and utility billing are just so closely intertwined with our budget and what they do for the whole department and what I also assist in with the whole department. It may have just seemed like it needed to land in utility billing since we do have 29 employees versus 6 or 7 in public utility department. So it is just, I believe most of it should just be from one line into another. So it does look like there's an increase. But overall, when you look at the department, I don't believe it changed significantly enough. It was just that two different line items of a move. I hope I got that, hopefully.
Does that answer your question? Would you like budget staff to?
Thank you. I'm learning.
Madam Chair, if you don't mind, I'd like to repeat the question so that our budget officer can hear. So we are looking at the budget book, the table for the Public Utilities Department on page 80. And there is a significant increase in transfers to other funds. So Councilor Faulkner was asking about that. It looks like it was about a 50% increase.
Madam Chair, Councilor Faulkner, I believe that was for, that transfer was for the AFSCME set aside for the comp and class increases. We could not budget those directly into the budgets. They were set aside in HR's budget, and transfers were done from non-general fund entities into the general fund to account for their shares of that amount. And then when AFSCME union comes back and approves their contract, that money will be put into the water budget and transferred back from the general fund.
Okay, and I'm going to ask this question that I asked yesterday, other operating costs in
Madam
this
Chair.
specific department. Can you give me like the top 5?
Also, again, in other operating supplies, it's a roll-up. So I would need assistance with the specific line items that are actually rolled up into that other operating. We can be very specific in salary and benefits and, service contracts. I know service contracts went up by, I believe, $1 million or 1.2 million, I believe, in just my line item. But again, the other operating costs, I know that is also part of the charges to the utility for human resources and finance and fleet, that handle that through other departments. And I'm sure Andy can assist if I misspoke, but I do believe that those are the other operating costs that are attributed to that increase.
Madam Chair, Councilor Faulkner, that is the majority of other operating costs in every department are services of other departments. As Nancy correctly stated, those are to pay for internal service functions such as the city's fleet function, to pay for public utilities fleet upkeep, the city's IT function to maintain network infrastructure, user accounts, and dedicated software that the utilities department uses, such as the utility billing software and things of that nature. And also costs that are transferred to the general fund to pay for things like the HR function and the payroll function. Also a small amount for facilities and other finance entities such as purchasing and yours truly. These costs all have their own separate allocations. For example, IT's costs are based on a combination of the number of user accounts used for owned by each division and maintained by IT, as well as an allocation for any software purchases or software renewals or hardware purchases that the department plans to make for the upcoming year. Those are done through IT, so IT can vet them. They can make sure that they're integrated correctly into the city systems. They don't cause problems. They have what are called APIs, which are interfaces to make sure that they can talk to other aspects of the city system without causing, the whole thing to go south. But each one of those assessed costs has its own methodology for its calculation, and budget does those calculations.
Thank you. And again, I appreciate all the work you guys put into putting this budget book together. And sometimes I'm asking questions to get some transparency on the record for the public. So that, I think there's opportunity here to educate the public that some of these things aren't, there's not like a shell game going on. There's business being done on behalf of the citizens of the city. And so I'm going to ask these questions throughout this process to kind of get on the record what these large amounts of money that don't really have anything identified specifically, what they're being used for. So thank you.
Counselor Cassett.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. I was just taking a look at the position count and noticed 3 new FTE coming into public utilities and operations superintendent, water resources coordinator, and 1 project administrator. And was hoping to hear about which divisions they're going into. Some are a little obvious, water resources coordinator, I can guess, and what they will be taking on.
Madam Chair, Councilor Cassett, the project administrators to support the digital twin implementation. So that's also going into the water division. And then the superintendent, operations superintendent, that's actually one that's going to be shared between 2 divisions, water and wastewater. They will move and have changing supervisors by assisting each facility over a period of time throughout the year. So when they're at a facility, they'll be supervised by that facility manager, and there will be redundancy for whenever we have an operations superintendent on vacation, retire, change positions, et cetera.
The water resources coordinator obviously is in water, and so sounds pretty self-explanatory, but a little bit more, please.
I defer to Dr. Jesse Roach if you want to elaborate for us.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Councilor Cassett. The Water Resources Coordinator represents a step, an additional step that we're taking towards building capacity in-house. And we believe that that position will more than pay for itself by essentially taking work that currently we outsource to consultants and building the internal capacity. So our overall strategy is that if it's something we do year in and year out, we should hire somebody to do it. If it's something that's very specialized or we do very infrequently, then that's something that we would utilize our consultants for.
Wonderful. Glad to hear that. We've had a lot of conversation about just that topic. So thank you so much. No further questions.
Okay, other questions from the committee? I do think we've heard all the divisions in this department. We do need to consider a motion on this budget.
Move to approve.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Do we have any further conversation before we vote? And looks like Director Oster, we are ready to vote.
Great, thank you. Counselor Cass.
Yes.
Counselor Faulkner.
Yes.
Counselor Lindell. Counselor Lee Garcia.
Yes.
Chair Romero Worth.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, you have a passed budget recommendation to the governing body. Thank you all for being here today and for all the work you're doing. I know there's a lot going on, so thanks for all those efforts. All right, I just want to, this committee will reconvene tomorrow at 1 o'clock. And we'll be hearing which budgets then.
Madam Chair, tomorrow we have internal services. We have IT, human resources, and finance.
Okay. And again, we will start at 1 o'clock here. Thanks everybody for being here. We are adjourned.